Welcome to this session of the State Library of Iowa's Director Endorsement Program. This class is all about employee performance evaluations and is part of the HR and Volunteer Management course. My name is Mary Ann Morey, and I serve as Central District Consultant at the State Library of Iowa. This session about employee performance evaluations is designed to give you basic information on the importance of them and how to write them. By the end of this session, you should be able to recognize the importance of providing performance evaluations to employees, use this session's information to complete a performance evaluation, and differentiate between a good evaluation form and a not-so-good form. Conducting staff performance evaluations is a big responsibility, and it's a time-consuming process, but the final result is worth the time and effort. You want a staff that is motivated to work on what you need to have accomplished and who succeed in meeting the goals you've mutually agreed upon. Providing regular performance evaluations is one way to ensure those things. Even if you're a solo librarian with no other employees, this class can serve as an aid for you to assess your volunteers, or it can provide you with information to assist your library board with conducting its annual evaluation of you. There is always a connection with the library's actions to the state library's accreditation standards, so let's take a look at the ones that apply to evaluating staff. Standard 22, a basic Tier 1 requirement, states that the library director is evaluated by the library board at least annually. This is a required standard for receiving any state funding for your library. Standard 26 deals with evaluating the rest of the employees in your library. It's a non-tiered standard since many of our libraries only have one employee, the director. However, if your library has additional employees, it is highly recommended that the director or other supervisory staff conduct annual performance evaluations. Let's start off with some of the reasons why employee performance evaluations are important. In addition to being tied to the accreditation standards, performance evaluations help maintain a level of service that is consistent with your library's mission. Your mission statement probably says something about quality of service or assurance of certain services. Those aspects of your mission statement are only possible if you have employees who are fulfilling their job duties appropriately. Evaluations serve to acknowledge and encourage high-quality performance on the job. They recognize employees who exceed expectations. Evaluations can also assist you in coaching employees who may not be performing up to their job's expectations. The performance evaluation provides a method for open and effective communication between supervisor and employee. While evaluations don't reveal poor performance, you should have already addressed poor performance beforehand. Evaluations should address poor performance and can provide written action steps for employee improvement. Evaluations are often required by the city, and they are often tied to increases in employee pay, so in that sense, they provide accountability to the public you serve. It's also important that employees know that the work they do is important and valued by their supervisors and the library. They need to know how their position fits into the library as a whole, and evaluations and setting goals are a great way to communicate that message. In addition to the previous reasons for conducting employee performance evaluations, these evaluations also help inform. They allow supervisor and employee to communicate openly about performance. Remember that communication should happen throughout the year and not only during evaluation time. If the job isn't being done to satisfaction, a discussion needs to happen right away. You don't wait until performance evaluation time to bring up a concern about an employee's action or inaction. However, a performance evaluation provides a great way to discuss and determine ways to improve performance, but again, it shouldn't occur only once per year if there are repeated issues regarding an employee's performance. Performance evaluations also help the supervisor and employee set mutually agreed upon goals for the coming year. Goals should be realistic, measurable, and obtainable within 6 months to a year. We'll talk about this more in a moment. Performance evaluations can help the supervisor and employee develop actions that can be taken to enhance development and performance of the employee. They can also help evaluate results based on previously established goals and performance standards, which provide a basis and documentation for transfer, promotion, reassignment, or disciplinary action. And finally, performance evaluations can provide standards for decisions on merit increases. Each of your staff members wants to be successful in their jobs. By writing goals and doing evaluations, it helps your employees know and understand what the expectations are for them each year, since these can and usually do change. A good evaluation form can allow the employee to do a self-evaluation, which gives the employee a better sense of ownership about the position. An evaluation also provides a picture of what success looks like and makes it easier for employees to follow through and be successful. Evaluations also provide an opportunity for employees to request and make a case for any additional training or tools they think they need to be successful in their jobs. As stated previously, it's important for employees to know how their job fits into the overall success of the library, that they are just as important in the library's success as any other staff person. Often, an annual evaluation is a time for the employee to actively spell out additional accomplishments the employee has made during the year that may not be a direct job assignment, but which may still be related to the employee's position. For instance, chairing the group of librarians within your county who meet regularly, developing the countywide budget request on behalf of all the libraries in your county, or presenting a webinar for the state library or other library group are things an employee can highlight in a self-evaluation. As an employee, having a favorable performance evaluation can serve as a record of achievements and offer proof of capabilities should the employee be considered for a salary raise or seek a career advancement elsewhere. What should be included in an evaluation? Typically, these topics are included. Quality of work, that is, a measurement of accuracy, thoroughness, and the competence of the staff person. Quantity of work, which measures the productivity level, ability to manage time effectively, the ability to meet deadlines, etc. Job knowledge, which shows the employee's skill level and their understanding of the work required as outlined in the employee's job description. Working relationships. This refers to the employee's communication skills, their ability to work with others, work as part of a team, and things of that nature. Working relationships could also look at how the employee works with other area librarians or other city staff members. Customer service. Obviously, this pertains to how the employee provides library services to the public. Even if the employee doesn't interact regularly with patrons at the front desk, there are still considerations in how the employee's job performance affects the library's overall customer service. For example, a cataloger who never works the front desk can still impact customer service by ensuring items are cataloged quickly and accurately for quick ease of access by your patrons. Achievement should be mentioned, especially if the employee has done something extraordinary or in addition to what the goals indicated. For instance, if the employee presented at a library conference or wrote an article that was published in a professional journal, or if the employee completes these endorsement requirements, those things should be noted in the annual performance evaluation. Managerial effectiveness is an important area of evaluation if the employee supervises others, but it can also include the supervision of volunteers. This is definitely an area boards will be evaluating when they evaluate their director. Goals, that is, the completion of those goals previously established, should be evaluated. Additionally, any goals for the new work year should also be noted in the performance evaluation. Other aspects can also be included in evaluations, so this is not necessarily an exhaustive list. If you will recall from our class about job descriptions, a job description should include, among other things, the essential duties and responsibilities of the position. Your performance evaluation should be an evaluation of how the employee has performed those essential duties and responsibilities that are outlined in the employee's job description. So if the employee's job description includes things like collection development, program development and presentation, customer service, then the performance evaluation will include ratings of collection development, program development and presentation, and customer service as performed by that employee. In other words, you should be able to line up the employee's job description alongside the employee's performance evaluation. Here's a sample library director job description from an Iowa library. You can see that primary responsibilities include managing the library, planning, providing the board with information, that's communicating, providing good customer service, working effectively with the budget and with the friends group, preparing reports, and so on. So what will a performance evaluation look like for this director? It should have evaluation categories for management, planning, communication, customer service, budgeting, and so forth. Under each of those broad categories, specific details can be noted to expand the explanation and reason for the rating. Here's a very simple, basic evaluation form example that illustrates this concept. This evaluation form lays out various aspects of the job and has ratings of exceeds, meets, or falls below expectations for each job category. This is a most basic evaluation form, and you may prefer to compare this with additional examples featured in some upcoming slides. The thing to note on this example is how the categories being evaluated are undoubtedly the same primary job duty categories noted on the position's job description. Notice that this sample does not have any spaces for writing the supervisor's comments. It is strongly recommended that you do include a space on your staff evaluation forms to include written comments, either within each section or as a summary, or perhaps both. Performance evaluations can be used as evidence in any employee litigation, so you want to have good reasons for giving the marks you indicated on the evaluation. When filling out the performance evaluation, you want to be particularly mindful of being objective and accurate. This is easier said than done sometimes. You should not evaluate on attitudes that may be interpreted subjectively. You want to have facts and notes gathered from throughout the year that you can refer back to in order to help you remember and consequently fairly judge the employee's efforts to accomplish the expected level of service. Having a method or form to comment on successful activities and examples, as well as what might need improvement, provides good feedback for the employee. The most important thing to remember is to use facts and be objective in doing this. Don't provide your conclusions, opinions, or guesses about the employee's motivation. You want to pay attention to the behaviors that the employee exhibits. Emphasis should be placed on the practical as opposed to the theoretical view of what library service should be. Again, this is where clearly identifying expectations and the criteria for meeting those expectations will help in reviewing the type of work that is being done. The employee also needs to have a chance to exhibit that they are doing what is expected of them. These are all reasons why it's important for the performance evaluation to be based upon the job description. One way to help ensure that you're evaluating fairly is by keeping notes about employee performance throughout the year. This can be as easy as writing something on a sticky note and putting it in the employee's personnel file. When evaluation time rolls around, you can review the various notes you've made throughout the year and have justifiable reasons and examples for rating the employee appropriately. As part of the performance management process, employees should also participate in annual goal setting and evaluation to identify long-term and short-term goals that align with their professional vision and the library's strategic objectives. To help improve goal achievement and success, goals should clarify what is expected and the measurements that will be used to define success. The SMART goal method is one option to establish specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-sensitive components that help structure goal achievement for successful outcomes. This example is taken from the State Library's Public Library Compensation Toolkit, which is available on the State Library's website. Specific goals detail exactly what needs to be done. They should not be vague or open to interpretation. Measurable goals provide numeric targets to reach, such as an amount or percentage or change, etc. A good example for someone who does program is simply to say, provide 8 programs annually, or something specific like that. Achievable goals are ones that may be a stretch but can still be achieved. Use action verbs to describe it, such as create, build, develop, produce. Relevant goals show how they are related to the library's strategic plan. Time-sensitive goals indicate a period of time by when the goal needs to be completed, such as by the next evaluation period, or within 3 months, or by a specified date. Check-in dates may also be part of that goal. Evaluation should be a time to encourage employees, to encourage and appreciate those employees who have performed well, and to encourage those who haven't performed so well to do better. An evaluation that helps employees focus on their capacities rather than their limitations can help you, the manager, create not only a good working relationship with the employee, but also a good performance improvement plan for any employee who may need one. In an article by Jenna Reserva featured on workforce.com, a performance improvement plan, or PIP, is defined as a roadmap for employees to improve on performance issues. Its primary goal is to help underperformers do better. The URL noted on the slide provides access to the template also shown on the slide. While some people may regard a PIP as a negative, Reserva writes, it's not disciplinary action per se, but a way for employers to assist employees to do better and overcome performance deficiencies. Reserva argues that a PIP is actually a retention tool and says the PIP's primary goal is to help employees succeed and prevent turnover in the first place. Realize that PIPs are usually not the first course of action for performance issues. They typically come later in the evaluation process after notices and verbal warnings have been issued, but they can be a follow-up to a regular performance evaluation if an employee has areas of underperformance. Sometimes there's confusion about who should do the evaluations. The director and only the director should be evaluated by the library board of trustees. The rest of the library staff is evaluated by the director or other supervisory staff. If you are part of a large library, you might have many supervisors that do evaluations of particular staff. Having a consistent method of evaluating and training on the process so everyone on staff is evaluated equitably is the key here. Everyone on staff should get an evaluation at least once a year. There are many benefits to performing regular employee evaluations, and they can certainly be done more often, especially if you are training on a new skill or having performance issues that need to be corrected. Usually with new hires, an evaluation is done after 6 months, the typical probationary period, and then annually thereafter. You don't want a situation where an employee is surprised by an evaluation that rates them poorly for performance issues that have not previously been discussed. Documentation and emails regarding issues of concern should be sent and kept for reference. We at the State Library are often asked what forms should be used for employee evaluations. There are all kinds of forms to use for an evaluation, with some being better than others. Check with your city first to see if they have a form used for other departments. The city might actually require that you use theirs. You can certainly tweak it to add library-specific items. Otherwise, find one that can be customized to fit your library's services. You can find many examples and templates online, or ask another librarian if they have one they like. A good evaluation form includes specific agreed-upon goals, specific activities and criteria for success, and any needed timelines. Ratings of exceeds expectations, meets expectations, and does not meet expectations are a good way to state the performance. While an evaluation form may utilize a numerical scale, some managers have found that using a numbering scale for ratings tends not to be as complete, as staff only tries to raise the total number over the course of their employment, rather than really working on specific objectives. If you choose to use a numbering scale, be sure to outline the meaning of each number. Let's look at a couple more examples of evaluation forms used by libraries. This evaluation form is from the Fort Madison Public Library here in Iowa. The form is adaptable for the various positions within the library because you can fill in the duty or responsibility from the job description while keeping the same form throughout. For instance, the duties of a children's librarian will be very different from the duties of a shelver, so customization within the form is good. This form provides a way to state what the work standard should be. It offers ratings of exceeds expectations, meets expectations, needs improvement, or unacceptable. It also has sections for both the supervisor and the employee to fill out. While you can't see it on this slide, the form also includes a place for both the supervisor and the employee to sign and date it. This should definitely be part of the evaluation form you choose to use. Here's an example from the Association for Rural and Small Libraries listserv, which nicely outlines the qualities being evaluated. This form also provides room for comments, which is a nice inclusion as it helps justify the rating the employee is being given. Here's another page of that evaluation. Each category is rated individually, but there is also an overall evaluation, so there's a big picture viewpoint that can be important. Note the bottom section, which includes an important statement at the end that the employee signs off on. By signing the evaluation, the employee isn't necessarily agreeing with the content. Rather, they are just stating that they have seen it and discussed it with the supervisor. The form is signed by both the employee and the supervisor and dated. Here is a sample of the evaluation form used at the State Library. This is a district LRT sample. so it outlines specific duties of concentration, gives specific action steps, as well as the criteria that supervisors use to rate the employee's performance. This form also includes a timeline. Sometimes this can be shorter if for a specific training need, a specific project, or if trying to improve performance. There is also a results section that the supervisor uses to write their observations, comments, etc., and can expand as needed for each goal. Ratings consist of exceeds expectation, meets expectation, and does not meet expectations. One really good thing about this form is that it provides a space to make additional comments. Supervisors can use this section to outline and comment on documentable things that led to the evaluation rating, to note special activities the employee did that were outside of their identified goals. If the employee went above and beyond the basic job duties, the supervisor can make note of it here. There is also space provided for the employee to comment, and those comments are gathered by issuing a self-evaluation form to the employee. More about that in just a moment. And like all evaluation forms should include, it has a space for signatures and dates from both the supervisor and the employee. At the conclusion of the employee evaluation, the supervisor should provide a copy of the signed form to the employee. The original will be put in the employee's personnel file. Check with your city to see if there are additional guidelines and recommendations regarding completed employee evaluation forms, since library employees are city employees. Now that we've looked at the necessity of performance evaluations and some sample forms, let's talk a bit about getting started. As stated earlier in this class, performance evaluations are time-consuming. They should not be completed without significant thought and preparation. These questions and considerations on the slide are good ones to ponder prior to an evaluation. What are the employee's strongest skills and/or strongest abilities? What examples do you have to cite your evaluations of those strengths? In what areas does the employee need to strengthen skills or knowledge base? Again, what examples do you have to cite your observations? Highlight specific job accomplishments or challenges since the last review. For example, if the library migrated to a new automation system and this employee was instrumental in the rollout, be sure to note the process and effects of it as it pertained to the employee's role. Ask the employee to list their goals for the upcoming year. The supervisor should consider goals for the employee as well and compare them with those the employee has submitted. Compile mutually agreed upon goals. Remember that whatever form you choose to use for employee evaluations, there should be a space for supervisor and employee signatures and the date of the review. Again, all of this should be based on the employee's specific job description. The kinds of evaluations I've previously been describing are ones that are conducted entirely by the supervisor with some input from the employee's self-evaluation. Here are some other evaluation formats that some organizations choose to use. 360 evaluations ask multiple people to provide feedback on the employee's performance. Individuals might include city staff members, co-workers of the employee, and library patrons. Some of the benefits of a 360 evaluation are that it helps prevent the perception of bias in a supervisor or subordinate. Co-workers are in the best position to observe long-term performance since they work together most often with the employee, and multiple raters provide input which ensures fairness and accuracy. However, there are also some downfalls of the 360 evaluation format. If asking subordinate staff to rate a manager or library director, this can sometimes lessen the perception of the manager's authority in library matters. Disgruntled employees can use the opportunity to give extremely poor ratings for the director, whether warranted or not. Confidentiality must be maintained since, in some circumstances, an employee might fear repercussions if given a poor rating to a supervisor or director. In some instances, 360 evaluations can pit coworkers against each other or cause unnecessary false niceties. Asking patrons to evaluate a library director, for example, may not give accurate information since few members of the public really understand the role of the library director and have likely not reviewed the director's job description. Peer evaluations involve getting evaluation information from coworkers only. As the director, you would be asking all of your employees to evaluate the particular employee for whom you are overseeing the evaluation. Library boards that are evaluating a director might solicit peer evaluations from other area library directors. These kinds of evaluations can be touchy for obvious reasons, but they can provide some good feedback on situations where the supervisor isn't around on a regular basis to witness interactions, teamwork, and customer service. A similar method is to simply keep a folder or file of comments you receive about the employee throughout the year and gather those at evaluation time. Team evaluations are similar to peer evaluations in that you solicit feedback from team members when your library works mostly in teams to accomplish goals. This is becoming more popular as more groups collaborate to fulfill priorities. Self-evaluations can be a complementary component of any kind of evaluation you choose to use. Since self-evaluations have been mentioned a few times already, let's look now at an example. Having an employee fill out a self-evaluation a few weeks prior to the evaluation time is helpful since it assists the supervisor with getting a good idea of the employee's accomplishments that might be outside of their specific goals. It works best if you provide the employee with a form or template to fill out, as opposed to just asking them to write something from scratch. The form that the state uses for its employees is shown on the slide. The questions asked require that the employee give some thought to what they've done over the past year, and it gives the supervisor insight to the employee's understanding of their job and their commitment to the library overall. Self-evaluations provide the employee a chance to toot their own horn, which is very helpful in doing the actual evaluation. Supervisors who conduct evaluations don't always have the luxury of working side by side with each of their employees at all times. This is definitely the case with the library board not being alongside the director all the time to view the director's performance. There will be things that happen that a supervisor or library board is going to miss, so a self-evaluation provides employees an opportunity to remind their supervisors what has happened and from their perspective, which can be important. A self-evaluation form might also ask for any additional information, such as trainings attended, involvement in team projects, and that kind of thing. Doing this also gives the opportunity to provide reinforcement of positive actions, as well as helping to determine if the employee's job has changed significantly during the past year. If so, the job description probably needs to be updated and the goals for next year need to be revised. This is a recommended cycle for evaluating staff. You might have a different method, and if that works for you, then that's great. But if you think you need to make changes, you might consider this way or add some of these elements. Start with a performance plan or goals, which include specific activities or duties needed to complete specific jobs. This could also include special projects you want completed or new initiatives under the employee's assignments. This is a great way to lay out the expectations for the coming year and is also a terrific time to review job descriptions. Have duties changed or new duties been added? Are there new expectations due to new technology, programming, grants, or other factors? If these are long-term or even permanent changes, you may need to update the employee's job description. Access our other course module on that topic. If these are temporary or short-term activities, they make ideal goals for the new employment review period. You can also list acceptable ranges of behaviors, activities, or events. Go over the plan with the employee so that everyone understands what's expected. This makes it much easier to initiate a conversation about where improvement is needed and to point out specific examples that demonstrate the improvement that is being sought. It is advisable to have the employee sign off on the goals, which helps prove that the employee did know what was expected. Monitor progress throughout the year so that you can provide coaching or needed training to encourage or assist in making progress toward the goals and the employee being successful. Sometimes it's obvious that progress isn't happening, but not always. Careful, regular reviewing throughout the year will help you know what is occurring, and it can also help the employee stay on task. Coach employees who don't measure up to expectations. You need evaluations that point out specific examples of what has happened, but the annual evaluation should not be the first time employees are confronted with this information. Conduct the annual performance evaluations. This ends the cycle with the results of the evaluation, which may be an improvement plan, a raise or promotion, or simply an acclamation of a job well done if pay scale limitations prohibit additional pay increases. With a new set of goals then established at the performance evaluation, the cycle begins again. Here are a few considerations to keep in mind regarding evaluations. Put in the necessary time to make thoughtful, well-written, and documented evaluations. A hurried, inaccurate, or poorly written employee performance evaluation can cause tremendous problems for you as a manager, your library, and your city should any employee litigation ever occur. You don't want to indicate that a lesser performing employee is doing great if that's not truly the case, as implementing disciplinary action later could become more difficult. Give the employee a copy of the evaluation prior to meeting with them so that they have an opportunity to read it through and process the information. As the director, you want to meet with your employee in a private setting or as private as you can make it. You don't want to be overheard, especially if sensitive information is being shared, and you want to avoid interruptions. Again, being as objective as possible is the goal, as each employee has their strengths and weaknesses. Focus on that employee only. It is possible that the library's priorities change during the course of the year. Make sure you mention that fact in the evaluation and assess fairly. For instance, if the employee was supposed to have done something that required the use of a particular technology that was changed or abandoned mid-course, you want to make sure to mention that fact as the reason why the employee did not meet that particular goal. You don't want it to look like the employee just dropped the ball, which would not be a fair or accurate evaluation. Evaluations can and should be used for the discipline process, but you need to make sure that they are objective and accurate portrayals of what was done or not done, as the case may be. If you give someone a glowing evaluation and then try to discipline them for work not completed or not done well, you'll have a bigger problem on your hands. Additionally, your evaluation will become an important document if you ever need to eventually terminate the employee. And as mentioned, the evaluation form may become a document used in any litigation that a disgruntled employee may pursue. It is critical that substandard work performance be carefully documented and the employee is provided with a fair opportunity to correct mistakes or deficiencies before discipline is introduced. A quick note about director evaluations that are conducted by the library board. The director's performance evaluation does fall under Chapter 21, Iowa's Open Meetings Law. Remind your board of this fact. Advise your trustees to contact the State Library District Consultant and view the State Library's Library Law FAQ on this topic for more information. You want your evaluations to be as unbiased as possible and instead based on documentable evidence. Here are some cautions to keep in mind while completing the evaluation. Past influence is something the employee did, either positive or negative, that influences the entire year's results. Similarly, recent events, good or bad, that recently occurred that may perhaps influence or overshadow events from the rest of the year. Compatibility. People relate better to and may be inclined to rate higher the people they feel are more like them or with whom they identify, so be careful of your own biases. Attribution occurs when the supervisor presumes to know the cause, either internal or external, of the employee's good or bad behavior and takes it into account when rating this person. Be careful of this, as there may be more to the situation than you have been able to observe. Few observations. Having too little data can prevent you from being as objective as you want to strive to be. Make sure you have sufficient documentation to give the ratings you're indicating on the evaluation. Generalizations. Don't lump people together. Evaluations are done for each employee individually, not for a collective group of staffers. Historical. Don't fall into the trap of believing that an employee who has always received high ratings should still be getting them. Likewise, don't assume that a lower performing employee will continue to receive lesser evaluations. Be objective. Also, don't simply copy from the past evaluation. Situations may have changed, and you want the evaluation to accurately reflect current performance, not merely be a repeat of last year's evaluation comments. Again, you need to be careful and thoughtful when completing a performance evaluation, since the written evaluation can and will become documentation in any employee litigations. Have some criteria to refer to if you have several people who do evaluations on your staff. You want outstanding to mean the same to each one. Here's an example of some descriptions and definitions. You want to make sure that you, as the evaluator, and any other supervisors on your team who may also be conducting evaluations are all in agreement as to the definitions of any ratings used. In some of the evaluation forms we viewed in this session, there were spaces to add comments. This is an advisable thing to do on an evaluation form because it allows you, the evaluator, to give examples of why the employee received the assigned rating. Also realize that meeting the job description's requirements is not to be considered superior or outstanding performance. Save those ratings for truly extraordinary performance. In a document from the International City-County Management Association, these recommendations are offered. Exercise professionalism in writing and presenting the evaluation. Measure the employee's performance, not personality traits. Supervisors should keep the evaluation and review process as objective as possible. Address behavior or conduct, not characteristics or personalities. Avoid using terms such as always or never. Don't give inflated evaluations, since inflated evaluations may end up being used against the employer should the employee ever be terminated. Again, be objective. Don't comment about an employee's absenteeism if the absences were for legal reasons, such as FMLA. Don't comment on the person's protected status or activity. Your personal opinion, bias, or feelings should not influence the evaluation. You should definitely consult with your city's HR manager. If your city doesn't have anyone in an HR position, contact the Iowa League of Cities, which has someone on staff that specializes in HR issues and can help with your questions. If you feel overwhelmed with the prospects of conducting performance evaluations, the State Library has resources to assist you. Your district consultant can be a tremendous resource for you, so don't hesitate to contact them. This concludes our class about performance evaluations.